Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and it's great to see you. Thanks for that collective woo-hoo. Let's do it again. Woo-hoo! Yes, and so it is. So let us begin our service today by standing up and singing This Little Light of Mine. It's found on the left side of your program. We'll sing it loud, we'll sing it clear, and we'll sing it like we mean it.
It's not that unusual when everything is beautiful. It's just another ordinary miracle today. It's time to snow, just another ordinary miracle today. Light is like a gift, they say, wrapped up for you every day. Open up and find a way to give some of your own. It seems so exceptional that things just work out after all. It's just another ordinary miracle today. The sun comes up and shines so bright, it disappears again at night. It's just another ordinary miracle today. It's just another ordinary miracle today.
And let us stay in that inwardly focused place as we listen to the words of our sacred reading.
From Guru Rinpoche Padmasambhava, 8th century Tibet. The self-born primordial awareness has not been created. Amazing. It does not take birth, nor is there a cause for its death. Amazing. Although it is evident, there is no one that perceives it. Amazing. Although it has wandered through suffering, it has come to no harm. Amazing. Although it has witnessed awakening itself, it has come to no benefit. Amazing. Although it exists in everyone, it has gone unrecognized. Amazing. You hope to attain some other thing than this. Amazing. It exists within yourself, yet you seek for it. Amazing.
Resting in the amazement, in that pure awareness that created the universe out of itself. Let us sing together, I am remembering. So let's breathe in deeply, and then exhale, opening our eyes in love with what is, as it is, and so it is.
There's a holy hush all over as I stepped into the room. As I stood there with spirit, I was gloriously made new. It's a bright, lovely light, and a star bright bright as day. And as the angels gathered, I heard the Spirit say, "Arise, arise." We stand within the power in the presence of the Holy One. Arise, arise, as we honor the Lord. Arise. Arise, arise, as we worship the Lord, singing holy. Arise, arise, as we honor the Lord. Oh, arise, arise, as we within the power of the Holy. Arise, arise.
Okay. Well, all rise. No, just kidding, don't. You don't have to all rise. I'm just stalling until the choir gets seated, that's all. So happy Easter, everybody, and welcome to our beautiful, eclectic, wonderful spiritual center, the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. The message title today is Get Your Easter On. Yeah. The reason I picked that title was I thought it would be something that maybe Gino Walker would say. So I'm going to ask Gino to come up and speak into the microphone and say, "Get your Easter on," okay? All right.
Get your Easter on.
Perfect. Thank you. So much better than the way I could say it. But it begs the question, what is it to get one's Easter on? What does that really mean? And I think that it means to move into consciousness of resurrection. But what does that mean? What is the consciousness of resurrection? Well, in this spiritual center for the last month or so, we've been studying this book, Immortal Diamond by Richard Rohr. Richard Rohr is a Franciscan mystic who is really wonderful at translating kind of older versions of spirituality that perhaps a lot of us learned as children into something marvelous and mystical and heart-expanding. And so Richard Rohr talks about what resurrection consciousness is, and really he writes a lot about it, but it really boils down to one word, and that word is love. Get your Easter on means fall in love with your life. Fall in love with everything. Fall in love with existence. Fall in love with yourself. Amen and hallelujah. Yes. In that amazing piece that Hugh read, that had all those amazings in it, it talked about how love, another word for the primordial sea of awareness or whatever that first word was, that's just love. That's just love. Love created existence out of itself and placed us in it. And we are love becoming love. And Richard Rohr writes that the final and ultimate message of Easter, of the risen Christ, is that love and life are absolutely one and the same. Love and life are the same thing. Everything you see is love. Everything you do is love. Everything is love, becoming love, trying to express itself in greater and greater expanding fullness. And he also says that love is stronger than death. And if love is stronger than death, then that means that love is also stronger than fear. Love is stronger than doubt. Love is stronger than adversity. Love is stronger than illness. Love is stronger than resentment. Love is stronger than a lack of forgiveness. Love is the ultimate reality, and we are here to play in it. Yes. Just adjust here. There's only one catch, and that is that love is the ultimate reality, but we must receive it. We must receive it. And many of us, so many of us, feel that we don't deserve to receive and reveal the consciousness of love that exists in ourselves and in everything, that we are unworthy of it. You know, in my old views of resurrection, I shared this with you somewhat last week. I talked about when I felt like when I was finally awakened, when I was finally, resurrected or assumed resurrection consciousness, that the heavens would open and a choir of angels would sing. And you know, when I say that in church, we have to have a choir of angels. Here we go. Whoa! Good job. Okay, whoever didn't provide a choir of angels, stand up. No, kidding. Rise up. I thought that the heavens would open, a choir of angels would sing. You don't have to do it this time. That a choir of angels would sing, and that would mean that once and for all I had left my ego behind me. That my ego had just dropped off the face of the earth, and that I was no longer plagued by doubt or fear or anything like that. That I was finally perfected in spiritual grace. But what he does so brilliantly in this book is he talks about some of the symbols of the resurrection. He talks about how when Jesus, the Christ, reappeared to the disciples, that he still had his wounds. And he talks about, it could have been that his wounds totally healed, but he still had his wounds. His wounds were not denied or forgotten or even healed. And he says that resurrection is not woundedness denied, it is woundedness transformed. He also talks about how the first person that Jesus appeared to was Mary Magdalene. And, there are lots of ideas about who Mary Magdalene really was. Some people believe that she was Jesus' wife or his significant other. Some people believe that she was a prostitute. I personally believe that she was both. That this. Let me clarify that. There is a story. There is a story, a legend that I read from a very wise biblical scholar, Cynthia Bourgeau, that says that Mary Magdalene was born of nobility, but she was captured and sold into slavery and used as a prostitute. And then she was rescued, and then she became Jesus' most beloved disciple after that. That's what I mean by both. But I'm also grateful that she was both, because that story needs a prostitute. That story needs a hoe, as I often say. Because who amongst us has not prostituted ourselves for a little bit of approval, or a little bit of control, or a little bit of trying to feel better about ourselves? That story needs that. And it says in this book and in the Bible, it says that she sinned, she made many errors, so she was forgiven the most, and that made her able to love the most. And who does Jesus appear to first? The one who loves the most. And so that's our calling, is to be amongst the ones who love the most, and to understand that resurrection is not just for the spiritually perfected. Resurrection is that place where the very failures and radical insufficiencies of our lives can lead us into larger life and larger love. And that's different, isn't it? That's different than the way many of us think. It's different than probably the way that many of us were raised. It's different than what is taught in a lot of, or subtly taught in a lot of New Thought churches, that we have to sort of become perfect before we are acceptable. There's also, in our movement and in other self-help movements, there's this idea of standing in your grace and standing in your power and claiming your greatness, coming forth and shining your greatness and being amazing. And that's all true and that's all good. But where does humility and the willingness to embrace our woundedness and our transgressions fall into that? I think that a huge part of love and a huge part of resurrection consciousness is the marriage between our greatness and our humility. And I'd like to explain what I mean by that. So I'm going to go back 30 years in time when I lived in New York, when I was just a sweet young sassy thing with big shoulder pads and big hair. We do this all the time. Can we have a show of hair? Let's show me how big your hair was. Oh, Lonnie had big hair. Oh, Rick. I think Rick wins the prize for the biggest hair. His arms were like this. Anyway, I was living in New York, and my best friend at the time was a man named Mike, and we both had aspirations. I was wanting to become an opera singer and an actress, and Mike was starting a bird store, a pet store. He was going to put this pet store on the map, and we both were doing a lot of motivational and self-help things about standing in our power and standing in our greatness and being all that we could be. And then one day, Mike told me about an Oprah Winfrey show that he had seen. And let me start by saying that this is not to mock anybody that was bullied. I know that's a terrible thing. But this was a show about bullying. And there was a young girl on this show. She was probably in, 7th grade or so. And, maybe she didn't have the right look, or maybe her figure wasn't what people wanted it to be, or her clothes weren't right, and she had big, thick glasses. And she told her story, and it was heartbreaking and emotional and gut-wrenching, and Mike was right there with her. But then he said a lot of the women in the Oprah audience stood up, and they would stand up and they'd say, "Girl, you got to stand up. You got to show your power. You got to show them that you're great." And this girl took her stumpy finger and pushed her glasses up on her nose, and she said, "Yeah, I tried that, and it didn't work." 30 years later, I'm still talking about it. Because that was haunting to Mike and me. That, yeah, I tried that, but it didn't work. Because we were doing all the right things. We were reading Louise Hay. We were affirming our little booties off. We were praying. We were standing in our greatness. We were standing in our power. And we were simultaneously visualizing each other on Oprah 30 years later going, yeah, I tried that, but it didn't work. God bless her wherever she is. She's one of my great teachers. What I learned from that, and what I've learned from many years of living, many years beyond the big hair and the big shoulder pads and the opera career and ministry, is that sometimes it works by not working. When it doesn't work, when prayer doesn't work, when the affirmations don't seem to be bringing us what we want, perhaps that is a call to go deeper into the marriage of our greatness and our humility. In this book, Immortal Diamond, I came across a beautiful quote. It was Richard Rohr, the author, quoting 2 Corinthians, Paul, 2 Corinthians. And he paraphrased it, and I'm going to paraphrase it again so it makes sense to our sort of science of mind, new thought ears. And this quote was, "Love that is so rich becomes poor for our sake to make us rich out of its poverty." Love that is so rich becomes poor for our sake to make us rich out of its poverty. Now, what does that mean? Well, I was hoping you would tell me, because I'm not 100% sure, but I read that, and it haunted me all week long. I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it and felt it in my heart and meditated on it. I spoke with my prayer partner on Friday, and I read the quote to him, and he was the same way. He's like, well, what's your take on that? And I think what it means for me right now in this particular time is that part about love being so rich, that amazing primordial being that Hugh read about in the reading, that amazing infinite love, the waves of possibility, that is so rich. But it became poor, it became small, it became humble for our sake. It incarnated. Spirit became matter. It became all of us. And it became you and it became me. It could have been anything. It could have been something much more exciting than you or me. It could have been a mountain range or a roller coaster. But it's showing up as you and me. That is so humbling and so awe-inspiring that the vastness of existence could become particular could become single-focused, a single point of inspiration. The Franciscans call it the scandal of the particular. And not even knowing, that was from St. Francis' time, or a little after him, not even knowing that in quantum physics there's the waves and the particles, right? The waves become particular, they become the particles. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that humble of infinite possibility to become you and me and everyone else and the ants and the cockroaches and the flowers and everything? That is amazing. One of the spiritual teachers that I've read, Andrew Harvey, said that we can never be humble enough, that only God is humble enough. And that's part of why, is that God, love, was so humble that it became all of us. And not only that, it became humble and created a creation that could reject it. So, love that is so rich becomes poor for our sake, so that we may become rich out of its poverty. The way that we become rich out of its poverty is that we start to recognize the hidden wholeness in everything. We start to refrain from rejecting God in everything. We start to refrain from rejecting God in even our darkest places, even our darkest fears, even our darkest doubts. We are willing to see God in everything. That is how we become rich out of poverty. That is how we become great out of humility. And as we start seeing the wholeness in everything, the hidden wholeness in everything, the hidden wholeness is not quite so hidden anymore. And we start to see the power and the glory and the love and the greatness and the humility and the sweetness and the beauty of life, eternal, infinite life, powerful, infinite life in everything, even in the darkest places of ourselves. Many of you who have been attending on a regular basis know that this year I've been kind of obsessed with that glass is half full, glass is half empty metaphor, right? And if you know the answer to this question, which if you've been attending regularly, feel free to shout it out. Is the glass half full or half empty? Yes. Yes, or both will do. Right. Right. The glass is simultaneously half empty and half full. And taking that one step deeper, half empty and half full are exactly the same thing. And I wonder if the same thing is true for spirit and matter. That we are all simultaneously spirit and matter, and that spirit and matter are really the same thing. And is that true also for humility and greatness? Humility and greatness live together in a perfect marriage where they are one and the same, getting ready to give birth to something, to a third, getting ready for something to resurrect, to rise up, something new, something wonderful, and that something wonderful is a new and an infinite approach to our lives. So let me tell you, do you need a group cough? Let's all cough. Thank you and hallelujah. That was beautiful. Okay. Let me tell you how this idea of something so vast and so rich becoming humble for my sake so that I could become rich out of its poverty. Let me tell you a couple of ways how that plays out for us. One of the ways that it played out personally for me was in my relationship with the building, with this building, with our building. Many of you may know this, but I was not prepared to become a minister 11 years ago when I stepped onto the stage for the first time. First of all, I was mortified that the reason I took this church was that my dog liked to run on the beach in Ventura. It's even hard to say because I think Martin Luther King didn't take his church for that reason. Norman Vincent Peale didn't do that. But anyway, I was very reluctant to take a church, but God and my dog pulled me here. And my first day or so was something like this. Hi, Reverend Bonnie, here's your parking space, here's your office. Oh, and by the way, the building hasn't been painted for 40 years, and it kind of needs it, and it's going to cost thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. My response to that was, where's the bathroom, first of all? Let me just figure out the basics first. And it took 10 years to get the building painted. But what changed it for me, and I'm not saying that this is the reason the building got painted, I'm saying that this was part of the process, part of the place where my consciousness changed, was when the roof caved in, literally. The roof in our lovely Annette's office caved in over her desk one time during a rainstorm, and all of her papers and all of her things were covered with mud and leaves and squishy wetness, and the rug was all ruined, and yes, I know, it was very sad. And at that point, something opened up in me, the building becoming poor for my sake. Something opened up within me, and I started calling the building Leaky Grandma. We can all have compassion for a leaky grandma, can't we? Some of us may be heading in that direction, who knows? But as soon as I started calling the building Leaky Grandma, the practitioners started praying for Leaky Grandma, and something shifted in the energy. Something shifted in the energy, and we got a bid on the painting, and we got a loan for the money to do it, and we got it done. We got it done. And Grandma, that I used to call a pain in the Aztec, is now, in my mind, one of the most important members of this congregation. Yes, yeah. So that's an example of Grandma, this elegant, beautiful piece of work, piece of architecture that is so sacred, became poor. It literally fell apart so that we could do the spiritual work of becoming rich out of her poverty. Do you understand what that means? Yeah. So I'm sure that there's something in your life that is like that. Some hope or some aspiration that you're longing for, whether it's abundance or whether it's a greater experience of peace of mind or whether it's a release from resentment or whether it's a healing of some sort, any type of healing. That is a vision that is your vision, that is calling to you, that is becoming poor. Any problem is something becoming poor so that you may become rich out of its poverty. Now, the other great example, I just confessed that I came here because of my dog, and that among other reasons. You know, for years, I've always wondered whether or not I have the right to stand on this stage and tell people what I know, what I think I know, because I don't even know if I know it. I'm just, listening to divine guidance and trying to articulate it in the best possible way that I can. I wonder sometimes if I'm smart enough or kind enough or loving enough. I wonder if people know what kind of television I watch in my spare time. Spartacus. Yeah, it's nasty, but you'll love it. Anyway. And I'll share something with you. This also is somewhat scandalous, but not in the way you're going to think it's scandalous. You know, all these years of wondering if I am enough to take this position, if I am enough to be a minister in this church. Finally, after all these years, I just said to myself, it doesn't even matter. It does not matter. Nobody cares if you're enough. You don't need to care if you're enough. It doesn't matter. Chances are you're not enough. Nobody's enough. Nobody's enough for anything. Isn't that a weird thing to say in a Science of Mind church? From the standpoint of the ego, that the rules keep changing. None of us are enough. Just forget about being enough. Oh, I'm so glad you like that. I was a little nervous about that one. And the reason that it is safe to forget about being enough, the reason it is safe for me to forget about being enough as the minister is I know that the message that all of you, that the love in this congregation, that this beautiful spiritual center is so much more than enough. It is vast, it is infinite, it is powerful. And whatever you are longing to create in your life, whatever vision is calling you, whatever has your name written on it, that angel that is leaning over you and saying, grow, 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 grow into your greatness. Whatever is calling you, that is more than enough. That is so much more than enough, so you don't have to worry about being enough. All you need to do is show up and serve the vision, and when you serve the vision will serve you. I have lived that on countless occasions. And the other good thing about that is that when you go home at night, when I go home at night, all I need to do is to let go of worrying about whether or not I'm enough and just say, did I serve the vision today? And every single day, when we are focused on serving the vision, the answer to that question is yes, because there are infinite ways to serve the vision. If I am kind to the supermarket person in Vaughn's, I have served my vision. If I make Annette laugh by talking whatever, I can't think of a good enough word, in the office, I have served the vision. If I have held someone's hand who is in trouble, I have served the vision. And if it's true for me, it is true for all of you, because there is only one of us here, and it is Spirit, and it is so magnificent, and it is so humble, and so great at the same time. So, thank you. Thank you. But wait, there's more. So today, because we started the service with that amazing reading about amazement, I'm going to give you another one of my very favorite quotes from Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver, this beautiful poet. And it's a poem about the fact that we are immortal beings in mortal bodies. It's a poem about when she gets ready to leave this life. And the part that I love, my very favorite part, is when it's over, I want to say, I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom who held the whole world in my arms. Are you willing to be that? Yes. Oh, good, okay. Are you willing to be a bride married to amazement, willing to hold the whole entire world, including all of the darkest parts of yourself and others? Are you willing to hold that in your arms? Yes. Good. The answer is yes. So if you are willing, I'm going to ask you to take some vows with me. I just did a wedding last week, and I'm all practiced up, and we're going to do some vows. All right? Please repeat after me. No, don't repeat that. Okay. Now repeat after me. I take thee, amazement.
I take thee, amazement.
To be my wedded life.
To be my wedded life.
In sickness and in health. For richer and for poorer. In greatness and humility. From death to immortality. Now that is resurrection consciousness. Let's know that now. Let us pray. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let us turn within and take some nice deep breaths together. Breathing into that beautiful energy that has filled Grandma today. I'm speaking about the church, okay? This beautiful divine energy of love and mischief and holiness and wholeness. This energy of joy that is the life of God in all the darkness and all the light, in all that we call good and all that we call bad, and all that we call perfect and all that we call imperfect. Let us hold that tenderly in our hearts right here and right now as we know the spiritual truth that there is truly only one life, and that life is God's life. That life isn't only the parts we like. That life is everything, and that life is my life right now, right here and right now. I am the embrace that embraces the life of God in my heart, in my mind, in my being, and in my life. And as I speak in the first person, I know that this is true for me, but I also know that it's true for all of us because I am is here. I am is the name of God. And so together we know I am whole. I am perfect and imperfect. I am complete and incomplete. I am never enough, and that makes me more than enough. I serve the vision. I serve the power. I serve the grace. I serve humility and greatness, for I am. I have made myself poor so that I may become rich through self-discovery and through awareness. I am that life of God. And the only thing left to do is to figure out how we're going to celebrate it, how we're going to share it, how we're going to give it away. And so I trust and I know for every single person here that unique and wonderful visions, unique and wonderful ideas and manifestations of this one life of God is coming through you right now, and we say yes to it. We say yes to it individually, but we also say yes as a community as we hold each other up in our visions, in our truth, in the I Am presence. I am so grateful for this powerful, powerful teaching. I am so grateful for this spiritual center, for this beautiful, beautiful church with everyone in it. I give thanks for all teachings. I bless all paths to God, churches, temples, mosques, and ashrams. I bless atheists and fundamentalists, and I know that everyone is a blessing. I give thanks for the wholeness that is being revealed in every single moment of every life as I wrap my loving embrace around the world and nurture it and love it and support it just as it is. And so with a heart that is filled with gratitude for the transformative work that we have done here today, for the changed lives and for the changed world, I say thank you, Spirit, thank you, God, and I release these words into the mystery, and together we say, and so it is.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sometimes you think you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air like I don't care, baby, by the way. Woo! Because I'm clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Ha! Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Ooh! Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Oh! Here come bad news talking this and that. Well, give me all you got, no hold back. I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why, because I'm clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel happiness is the truth.